A flight attendant once told me she can predict who is going to have a miserable trip just by looking down at their feet in the boarding line. The shoes you choose for a flight seem like the most trivial decision in the world, right up until your feet swell 2 sizes over the ocean, or you are limping through a connection on a fresh blister, or you are standing on an emergency slide wondering why you wore the one thing that cannot get you down it safely. However, the single worst shoe to fly in is also the most common one people pull on without a second thought, and crew see it on board every single day. Here are 15 of the worst, counted down. Number 15. Brand new shoes you have not broken in yet. We have all done it, buying a fresh pair for the trip and wearing them straight to the airport. The problem is that new shoes are stiff, and stiff shoes rub. And a long travel day involves far more walking than people expect, through endless terminals, long security lines, and distant connecting gates. By the time you land, you can be nursing raw blisters that turn the rest of your trip into a slow, painful shuffle. Crew break in any new footwear at home, on short walks, long before they ever wear it to work. The fix is simple. Travel in shoes your feet already know and trust, and save the new pair for once you have arrived and your feet are happy. The first day of a trip is no time to be teaching your shoes a lesson. Number 14. Heavy steel toe or work boots. They feel sturdy and protective, and on a job site they are exactly right. But for flying, they are a poor choice for several reasons. They are heavy, which adds real weight to your carry-on if you take them off. And they are hot, leaving your feet sweaty and swollen over a long flight. Worst of all, at airport security, the metal toe sets off the scanners, and the thick laces take ages to unlace and lace back up, holding up the whole line and stressing you out before you have even reached the gate. Crew want footwear that comes off and on fast and weighs almost nothing. If you need rugged boots at your destination, pack them in your bag and fly in something light. Save the steel toes for the work, not the walk to seat 32A. Number 13. Tall lace-up combat boots. These have the same trouble as work boots and then some. The long rows of eyelets and hooks mean you spend a small eternity unlacing them at the security checkpoint and lacing them back up after, all while balancing on one foot and holding up the people behind you. On board, they are bulky and warm, and if you ever needed to get them off in a hurry, you could not. There is also the swelling problem, because once your feet expand at altitude, a tightly laced tall boot becomes a vice you cannot easily loosen. Crew favors shoes they can slip off in a second and back on just as fast. A tall, heavily laced boot is the opposite of that. It is a great boot for almost any situation except the inside of an airplane. Number 12. Non-breathable plastic or jelly shoes. Cheap molded plastic shoes and the trendy jelly styles seem convenient because they are light and wipe clean, but they do not let your feet breathe at all. Trap your feet in non-porous plastic for a long flight, and they sweat, they slide around, and that moisture leads to odor, blisters, and over many hours, even the conditions for fungal trouble. Your feet need airflow, especially when they are swelling and warming up in a pressurized cabin. Crew choose natural, breathable materials like leather or proper athletic mesh that move moisture away from the skin. If your shoes would turn into a sweatbox on a hot day on the ground, they will be worse sealed inside a cabin for 14 hours. Let your feet breathe and skip the plastic. Number 11. Fuzzy slippers, Uggs, or soft fabric boots worn through the airport and into the lavatory. People love these for the cozy factor on a long flight, and as a pure in-seat slipper kept in your bag, soft shoes are fine. The mistake is wearing absorbent fabric footwear through the terminal and especially into the airplane lavatory. Here is the insider truth crew want you to know. That dampness on the lavatory floor is very often not water. Soft, porous slippers and sheepskin boots soak up whatever they step in, along with all the germs of a public floor that thousands of feet have crossed. Then you are wearing it. If you want cozy feet on board, bring a clean pair of thick socks or dedicated slippers to change into at your seat. And always put real shoes back on for any trip to the lavatory. Your feet and your nose will thank you. Number 10. Knee-high zip boots. Stylish, yes, but they combine several flying problems into one tall package. They are warm, so your feet and lower legs overheat over a long flight. And they hug your calves, which can restrict the very circulation you are trying to protect when you sit still for hours. They are also slow and awkward to get on and off, both at security and in your seat, which means people tend to just leave them zipped up for the entire flight, swelling feet and all. Crew think about circulation constantly, because keeping the blood moving in your legs is a genuine health matter at altitude. A tall, snug boot works against that. If you love the look, wear them at your destination and fly in something looser and lighter that lets your legs breathe and move. Number 9. Crocs and loose slip-ons that fall off your feet. This one surprises people because slip-ons feel like the smart, easy travel choice, and getting through security is a breeze. But there is a safety angle the crew think about that passengers never do. In the rare event of an emergency evacuation, you may have to move fast across a chaotic cabin and down an inflatable slide, and shoes that are not secured to your feet fly off the moment you run. A passenger who loses a shoe is suddenly barefoot on debris, or stumbling, or stopping at the worst possible moment. Loose clogs and backless slip-ons also slide around and trip you in normal moments. The crew preference is a shoe that stays firmly on your foot, like a sneaker with a real heel. Easy to remove at security is good. Falling off when you run is not. Number 8. Platform shoes. Thick platform soles put a rigid slab between your foot and the ground, and that does two bad things. It robs you of any feel for the surface under you, and it raises your ankle on an unstable base that rolls easily, especially when you are tired and moving through a crowded, uneven airport. Now picture that on an emergency slide, where you need stable, grounded footing to land and run. A platform sole is exactly the wrong tool. They are also often heavy and stiff, adding to discomfort on a long flight. Crew want a low, stable, flexible sole that keeps them connected to the ground and ready to move. The fashion lift of a platform is not worth the rolled ankle in a busy terminal, or the loss of footing in the one moment you would need it most. If you are starting to look at your travel shoes a little differently, take a second and hit subscribe, because the final 7 are the ones crew warn about the most. And the number 1 worst shoe is probably sitting in your closet right now. Let's keep going. Number 7. Wedge heels. People reach for wedges, thinking they are the safer, sturdier cousin of the high heel. But for flying, they carry their own risks. The raised, often hard or cork heel makes for an unstable base, and the same evacuation slide concern applies, because a firm heel can snag or even puncture an inflatable slide, which crew are specifically trained to watch for. They also lift your foot at an angle that strains your legs over a long day, and can be slow to walk in through endless terminals. A wedge is still a heel, and the cabin and the slide do not care how wide the heel is. Crew keep their feet flat and stable. If you want a little height for your arrival, pack the wedges and change into them after you land, not while you are still moving through the airport and the aircraft. Number 6. Pointy, narrow dress shoes. Sharp-toed dress shoes are built to look elegant, not to accommodate a real human foot for hours, and certainly not a foot that is swelling at altitude. The narrow box crushes your toes together, cuts off circulation at the front of the foot, and turns a long flight into a slow ache that you cannot escape until you land. They are also usually stiff and offer little support for all the walking a travel day demands. Crew choose roomy, supportive shoes that give the toes space to spread, precisely because they know what hours of sitting and walking do to feet. If you have a meeting straight off the plane, carry the sharp dress shoes and slip them on at the gate when you arrive. Do not spend the whole flight with your toes in a vise. Number 5. Shoes sized for your normal feet, with no room for swelling. This is the mistake underneath several others, and it is worth saying on its own. When you sit for hours at altitude, fluid pools in your feet and ankles, and they genuinely swell, sometimes noticeably. A shoe that fits perfectly at the gate can become painfully tight by the time you land, squeezing your foot and restricting the circulation that you most want to keep flowing on a long flight. Crew account for this. They wear shoes with a little give, or that can be loosened, and many slightly size up for long-haul work. The trick is to choose footwear with some room, laces or straps you can ease off as the hours pass, and stretch where your foot expands. A shoe that fits at hour 1 should still be comfortable at hour 10. Plan for the swelling, because it is coming whether you plan for it or not. Number 4. Shoes loaded with buckles, straps, and complicated fastenings. Gladiator sandals, multi-strap heels, and anything with a row of little buckles look great and behave terribly when you travel. At security, they cost you precious minutes as you fumble with each fastening, holding up the line and raising your stress before the trip has even begun. And there is a sharper point the crew make. In a real emergency, you want footwear you could deal with instantly, not a shoe that takes a full minute of fiddling to manage. Complicated fastenings slow you down in exactly the moment's speed matters, at the checkpoint and, in the worst case, during an evacuation. Crew like simple, secure, fast footwear, on in a second, off in a second, holding firm in between. If your shoes require a tutorial to put on, they are the wrong shoes for an airport. Number 3. Boots or shoes laced up tight for the entire flight. Even a good, sensible shoe becomes a problem if you cinch it down tight and leave it that way for hours. As your feet swell, that snug lacing turns into a tourniquet across the top of your foot, restricting blood flow at the exact time you are trying to keep it moving to avoid clots. Many people lace up at the gate and never touch their shoes again, then wonder why their feet are throbbing on descent. The crew habit is to wear laces or straps you can actively adjust, loosening them once you are settled in your seat and at cruise, then snugging them back up before you stand or land. The shoe is not just something you put on once. On a long flight, it is something you manage, loosening as your feet expand. Tight and forgotten is the enemy. Number 2. High heels and stilettos. This is the classic the crew warn about, and the warning is real. A thin, hard heel concentrates your whole weight onto a tiny point, and that point can puncture or tear an inflatable evacuation slide, which is why flight attendants are trained to have passengers remove heels before going down one. Beyond that, you cannot run in stilettos, you cannot brace stably in them, and they roll your ankle on the smallest misstep through a crowded terminal. They also leave your feet aching for the entire journey. A high heel is built for a short, glamorous walk on a smooth floor, which is the opposite of everything a travel day throws at you. Crew carry their heels and change into them at the destination if a uniform or a meeting calls for it. On the plane and through the airport, the heels stay in the bag. The only thing keeping stilettos off the top spot is that fewer people wear them, because the most dangerous shoe of all is the one almost everyone reaches for. Number 1. Flip-flops and open sandals. They feel like the obvious, breezy travel shoe, easy to slip off at security, cool on hot feet. And that is exactly why they are the worst choice you can make, and the one crew see most often. Open sandals offer essentially zero protection, and in an emergency, that is everything. If you ever had to evacuate, you would be running across a cabin that can be full of broken glass, twisted metal, and spilled fuel, then down a slide, with your feet completely exposed, and flip-flops fly right off the instant you move, leaving you barefoot in the worst possible place. Day to day, they leave your feet cold in a chilly cabin, unsupported through miles of walking, and bare on that lavatory floor that, again, is not covered in water. Crew will tell you the same thing every time. The flip-flop is the shoe that does nothing for you in the one moment you would need a shoe to do everything. It is light, it is easy, and it is the single worst thing on your feet at 35,000 feet. So before your next flight, look down at what you are about to wear and choose the way the crew do. A comfortable closed-toe shoe with a stable flat sole, a little room for swelling, and a fastening you can slip off fast but that holds firm when you move. Something like a good pair of sneakers beats every shoe on this list. It will carry you through the terminal, protect you if it ever truly counts, and let you walk off that plane feeling human. If this was worth your time, subscribe and keep it in mind the next time you pack. Safe travels, and watch your step.